Today is the second video on educating our kids when school is out. Whether it's a pandemic, a summer vacation, a holiday, or a weekend, these are all opportunities for your child to learn. And let's remember, in a typical school year, there will be 185 days when your child will not even step foot into a classroom. This year, many are speculating that school will not reopen before August. So what you do now and the skills you learn to drive education at home will benefit your child enormously, not only now, but every time school is out of session. And in case you didn't know, the ability for your child to learn outside of school is the difference maker between students who win and those who don't. Okay, on to today's lesson. As promised, we're talking about the differences between educating your kids in a school setting and educating them at home. You need to understand this difference because some of you may feel that you need to replicate what happens in school at home, and this will not work. Think about traditional schooling. Hundreds of kids in a building. That in itself is a frightening thought. Each class has dozens of kids. Many of those kids don't even want to be there. And again, hats off to our teachers who are fighting for our kids every single day. But the major difference between home and school is that, and this is important, the teacher lacks the authority to demand that your child do much of anything, even things that are in their best interest. But while your child is at home, you have that authority. You have the authority to insist that they do the things that are best for them. And by the very definition of your role as a parent, you have that authority. You must now reclaim it. Later, we'll talk about how you take that authority and deputize it to your teacher. But for now, we got to take a quick pause, because there's some parents that are right now wondering, do they really want to push their children? Do they want to be this hard on their children? So let's pause and deal with that hesitation. First, educating our kids is serious business. In my neighborhood, only 30% of the kids are reading on grade level by third grade. And in our school district of more than 200,000 students, that number is only 40%. Only 4 in 10 students are reading on grade level. Corona has our attention, but this reading crisis is a public health emergency that has festered for years, decades. And parents, unfortunately, this problem is not going to fix itself. It's going to have to be your job. And lastly, I use different language when I talk about the parent's leadership role over their children, and this is on purpose. I use the language of sport, and I compare the role of the parent to the role of a head coach. The head coach has a responsibility to develop his players, and parents are no different. Both must set rules, responsibilities, and consequences for their players, or in your case, for your kids. And this is the first and potentially biggest difference between learning at school and learning at home. You have the authority to insist your child do the things that are in their best interest. And right now, nothing could be more important or more in your child's best interest than having them continue to learn while they're at home, practicing every day. Okay, a second difference between traditional and home schooling is that in the traditional model, it starts at a certain time. For my son, it's 7:40 a.m. If he's not in his seat, he's going to be sanctioned, and I'll receive an email telling me that he was late, which I did receive a few weeks ago, and I'm going to make a video about our response to that one. Stay tuned. My point, as you direct learning at home, you must set a start time, a time when your child is bathed, brushed, fed, and hear me now, ready to learn. Books out, pencil sharpened, desk or tabletop ready, brains turned on. Set a time, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, it doesn't really matter, but the principle is the one that's important to teach your child, that they have to be responsible for being ready at a certain time. Now for my kids, I don't tell them when they have to wake up, but I do tell them when I expect them to be ready to begin work. Generally that's around 9 a.m. Again, think of the head coach. Practice starts on time. Be the head coach your child needs right now. The third and final key difference is that you should never, ever, never, ever, ever, never try to replicate the school schedule at home. Remember, in a traditional school, your child would have lots of extraneous time. Time getting to school, coming from school, time moving between classes, free periods, socializing, etc. Parents will need to adjust their perceptions of what a typical school day should look like and make it something that's much more reasonable. I just put a blog about this, about home learning and the schedules that make sense. I'll include a link in the notes below. For most of you, you're going to find that your biggest issue is how to occupy your child's free time so they stay out of your hair so you can breathe and get work done. One solution I found that is extremely helpful is for you to lock yourself in the bathroom. You can do this for hours, and it's one way to keep your kids out of your hair, so consider this as one option. Another option Some would say is a better option, but it's to develop a really tight schedule about how the day is going to run. And on that schedule should be academics, should be playtime, and it should be chores. And not just any chores, but the chores that you hate doing. Coach.
Hi.
What's the status?
I'm doing math right now. Yeah.
Who's doing dishes today?
Ellie.
Not me.
No.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
Get back to work. Good job. Keep it up. Don't judge me. Listen, I hate doing dishes, and that's why we had kids. Well, it's not the only reason we had kids. I mean, that's of course, right? We had kids because we've got laundry to do, and we also have a yard to cut, we've got food to prepare, etc. So these are all the reasons that we had children. So seriously, they can and should be using some of their free time to help with the functioning of the house. And what you'll notice is that as the kids build their awareness of the work that needs to be done, they'll start to build their confidence and their participation in the economy of the household, and they're also going to relieve you from the burden of work that has to happen in every household. Back to the schedule. As you build it, you've got to take the long view about it, because the coronavirus, we're potentially looking at 5 months of home learning, April through August at least. So use these first few weeks to get a rhythm established and to set clear expectations. And over the coming weeks, you will slowly and gradually increase the amount of academics happening at the home. Trust me on this, you and your kids will get the hang of it, I promise you. And lastly, involve your children in the conversation about the schedule. Ask for their input. Ask for how much time they think they should do math or reading or writing. And also play. How much time they should play. How much time should they do chores. Involving them in this conversation will help build their buy-in for this work. Okay, there you have it. These are the 3 essential differences in educating your kids at home, and let's review what we've learned so far today. First, claim your head coach parent authority. You can and you must insist that your kids do what is in their best interest. 2, make sure you set a specific start time for learning and hold your kids to it. And then 3, develop a manageable schedule for school, work, and fun, and then build the volume of academics over time as your kids get more supportive of the idea. You will get the hang of this, and if you stand firm with the instructions you heard today, your kids will eventually get with the program. And then every time school is out, you can expect your children to continue learning at home, and then you can watch them soar. The next video will look at developing the key habits at home and the habits that lead to academic success, so do not miss that video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and please share with one parent who you think could benefit from the message you heard today. Now get out there, parents, and get those kids in shape. Keep thinking like a head coach, and I'll see you soon.